Welcome to Auto News Talk. If you look at the landscape currently, governments are out there demanding that 1 out of every 3 new cars sold be fully electric.
Right.
But down on the actual dealership lot, it's a completely different story. Buyers are begging for 600-mile gas-powered safety nets. And dealers, they're literally still using Sharpies to update prices on the windshields.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a legacy industry that is basically at war with its own future.
It is. It's a massive friction point. You have these soaring, ambitious goals for zero emissions and seamless digital integration. But those ideals are colliding head-on with consumer psychology, strict policy mandates, the heavy logistics of commercial freight, and just the literal physical reality of moving metal.
Yeah, that sets up our terrain perfectly. We aren't just looking at cars rolling off an assembly line here.
No.
We are looking at a massive global industry trying to change its DNA in real time, all while, still trying to pay the bills with its old DNA.
Right. And doing so under extreme pressure. I mean, if you scan the broad industry newsfeed highlights circulating, you see this chaotic balancing act playing out right in front of us. Automakers are being forced to spin multiple completely different plates at the exact same time just to keep the lights on.
It really feels like they are trying to change a tire while the car is currently driving down the highway at 70 miles per hour.
That's exactly it.
Because, for instance, the newsfeed shows brands pouring billions into electrification. You see Hyundai and Porsche featured heavily in these major EV rollout stories.
Oh, massive investments.
Right. But simultaneously, they have to cater to traditional hardcore enthusiasts. Dodge is out there making manual drift spec chargers and teasing a gas-powered model branded GLH, which, is an old enthusiast acronym for goes like hell.
Yeah, they can't let go of the old world because that's what consumers are actually buying.
Exactly.
The old world is funding the research for the new world. Yeah. And while they're juggling those completely contradictory product lines, they're actively fighting, basic safety and manufacturing issues.
Oh, yeah.
The same industry feed notes that the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is investigating General Motors over V8 engine failures.
Wow.
While Toyota is issuing widespread recalls for Tacomas and Camrys.
Which really highlights the sheer difficulty of the task.
Oh.
You have this futuristic, software-defined vision, but the raw mechanical reality of building machines that explode fuel to move humans safely down a highway,
right.
It's still demanding massive engineering resources.
Throw in the geopolitical landmines, and the picture gets even more complex. The newsfeed highlighted a report where President Donald Trump threatened a 50% tariff on Canadian cars.
Oh, man.
And a threat like that, it can completely upend a North American manufacturing and supply chain strategy overnight. So the central insight from looking at this broad industry picture is that the market is defined by completely conflicting priorities.
Yeah. Government mandates pushing for EVs, consumers still clinging to performance and internal combustion, and constant trade uncertainty looming over the factories.
Exactly. Which means companies simply cannot afford to go all in on one single technology. Survival requires massive, expensive diversification.
You really have to wonder how any CFO sleeps at night.
Seriously.
Because the newsfeed doesn't tell us how these automakers are supposed to financially sustain all these parallel tracks at once. You can't just fund a multi-billion-dollar EV revolution, maintain a V8 performance division, and redesign your supply chain for tariffs without burning through your cash reserves at a terrifying rate.
No, you can't. And that cash burn is precisely why automakers are desperately looking for a pragmatic bridge. Because they can't just flip a switch to pure electric without risking bankruptcy. They're reviving and heavily refining middle ground technologies. We see a massive pivot happening with Hyundai and Genesis, who are planning a major rollout of U.S.-built EREVs.
Okay, hold on. An extended range electric vehicle, EREV. That just means putting a small gas generator inside an electric car. Aren't we just slapping a new futuristic label on the Chevy Volt and pretending it's a brand new idea?
Well, you would think so on the surface, sure. But the underlying architecture and the scale of the ambition are completely different here. In this specific EREV setup, the internal combustion engine does not power the wheels directly at all.
Okay.
It acts strictly as an onboard generator to recharge the battery while you drive.
Oh, I see. So the wheels are always driven by the electric motor, giving you that instant torque and smooth acceleration.
Yes, exactly.
But the energy source feeding that battery is a tank of gas.
That is the crucial distinction.
Yeah.
And the specs they are targeting make this a potential cure for infrastructure anxiety. According to their strategic rollout, the Hyundai Santa Fe EREV is going to offer more than 600 miles of combined range.
600.
Yeah, and the Genesis GV70 version aims for about 640 miles.
640 miles. You could drive across multiple state lines, run the air conditioning on full blast, and not even think about searching for a charging station.
The appeal is totally undeniable. EREVs are gaining major traction because they give buyers the premium electric driving experience they want, completely decoupled from the anxiety of long-distance travel and broken public chargers.
Right.
Plus, these vehicles are planned to be U.S. built, likely in their Alabama facilities, which elegantly sidesteps some of those trade and tariff complexities we just touched on.
Right, avoiding that 50% tariff threat. And clearly this isn't just a niche side project to appease a few nervous buyers. Hyundai projects that hybrids will make up half of its North American sales by the end of the decade.
Yes, sure.
And they're planning 10+ new hybrid models.
The implication for the broader industry is massive here. So-called bridge technologies like EREVs might actually become the dominant long-term standard if public charging infrastructure doesn't improve at a miraculous pace. The market is screaming for a safety net.
The one thing missing from their investor presentation is the actual math on factory floor space.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they plan 500,000 units of added production capacity. But there is no breakdown of how much of that pie goes to these new EREVs versus pure EVs versus traditional gas cars. They're hedging their bets, but eventually someone has to commit the tooling and the assembly lines.
Absolutely. And moving from passenger SUVs to the commercial sector, that hesitation becomes even more pronounced. If range anxiety forces passenger car makers to build gas generators into SUVs, imagine the panic it causes for a commercial fleet manager.
Oh, man, yeah.
A guy who has to move 40,000 pounds of freight across the country on a tight schedule. The logistics of electrifying heavy delivery trucks or semi-trailers require a completely different sales and service ecosystem.
It's like trying to outfit a massive commercial construction crew, but having to drive to 15 different specialty boutique stores just to get your basic gear. Fleet managers need a Home Depot for commercial EVs. They need everything centralized.
This is the exact gap in the market a company called Range Zero Emissions is trying to fill. They are building a national, multi-OEM commercial EV platform, OEM being original equipment manufacturer. So they are gathering multiple distinct vehicle brands under one roof.
Smart.
They've been aggressively acquiring regional dealerships, buying up Ethro Truck and Energy's West Coast operations, and pulling Ziegler Truck Group's zero emissions business under their own umbrella.
So instead of a fleet manager going to one dealer for a light-duty local delivery van and a completely different dealer 3 towns over for a heavy-duty truck,
Right.
Range is carrying multiple brands at once. We're talking Workhorse, Harbinger, Battle Motors, all sitting on the same lot.
Exactly. The inside driving this consolidation is that single-brand commercial EV dealerships simply cannot scale effectively. Fleet needs are infinitely more diverse than passenger needs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like a bakery running local morning routes requires a fundamentally different vehicle and charging solution than a regional logistics company hauling steel.
Oh, completely.
Commercial electrification is currently stalled by disconnected sales channels and fragmented service networks. Bringing it all under a multi-brand platform is a necessary fix to get fleets to actually buy in.
But they aren't just betting on batteries, which is where the physics of this get really interesting. A huge part of this platform expansion is their distribution partnership with Hyundai Translate to add the Xcient fuel cell truck to their lineup.
Yeah.
So they're heavily expanding into hydrogen.
You have to look at the physics of commercial transport to understand why hydrogen is critical here.
Right.
Batteries are incredibly heavy. If you load up a massive commercial semi-truck with enough battery packs to travel 500 miles, you add thousands of pounds of dead weight to the vehicle.
Which means you run out of legal weight limits before you can put the actual cargo in the trailer.
Exactly.
You literally cannot carry as much weight, which just destroys the profit margin of the route.
Hydrogen fuel cells solve that math problem. They offer a zero-emission solution with significantly faster refueling times and a much lighter powertrain, preserving the payload capacity for heavier duty cycles.
Gotcha.
So the implication is that commercial EV adoption will look absolutely nothing like passenger car adoption. It requires highly customized, specialized solutions that prioritize payload, uptime, and varied fueling options like hydrogen.
But you do have to question the burn rate here. buying up all these regional dealerships to build a national platform is incredibly capital intensive.
Oh, yeah, very.
And Range's corporate announcements are dead silent on the actual financial terms of these acquisitions. Building the Home Depot of commercial trucking is not cheap.
No, it requires immense capital. And that brings us to the harshest reality facing every sector we've discussed. Whether you're building an SUV with 600 miles of range or a commercial hydrogen truck, you cannot just force these vehicles onto the road if the underlying market economics collapse.
Right. Government policy mandates are aggressively trying to outpace actual consumer demand, and it is creating a dangerous economic ripple effect. We are seeing a stark, urgent warning about this from the SMMT, the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, regarding the UK's zero-emission vehicle mandate.
This is a masterclass in unintended economic consequences.
Yeah.
The mandate mathematically pushes manufacturers to supply more EVs than the market currently wants to buy.
Well, let's walk through the actual mechanics of this, because the mandate forces automakers to hit certain percentage targets of EV sales.
Right.
And because organic demand isn't there, automakers have to heavily discount those new EVs just to move the metal and avoid massive government fines. But on the surface, if oversupply causes EV prices to drop by like $10,000 or $15,000, doesn't the consumer win? I mean, cheap cars, right?
Well, it looks like a win for the person walking into the dealership at that exact moment.
Yeah.
But it is an economic trap for the broader market.
Really? How so?
It all comes down to the concept of residual values, which is simply what the car will be worth on the used market 3 or 4 years from now.
Okay.
When manufacturers aggressively slash the prices of brand new EVs, it instantly and directly destroys the value of used EVs.
Oh, because why would I pay $30,000 for a 3-year-old used EV if I can get a brand new one that has been discounted down to $32,000?
Exactly. The used car loses its appeal entirely, which breaks the leasing market.
Oh, right.
The vast majority of new cars are financed or leased. When a bank calculates a monthly lease payment, they're basically dividing up the amount of value the car will lose over 3 years. If they expect a $50,000 car to be worth $30,000 in 3 years, the consumer pays for that $20,000 drop in value.
But if the manufacturer suddenly discounts new models to hit government quotas, that used car isn't worth $30,000 anymore.
No.
It's worth, what, $15,000? So the leasing company takes a massive loss when they try to resell it.
And banks do not like taking losses.
No, they don't.
So the next time they write a lease for an EV, they drastically increase the monthly payment to cover that extreme depreciation risk.
Oh, wow.
Paradoxically, forcing supply ahead of demand artificially suppresses residual values, which ultimately makes EVs substantially less affordable for the average consumer because it drives up those monthly finance costs.
That is wild. And the math the SMMT cites is just brutal. Industry research shows underlying consumer EV demand is hovering around 10 to 13%, but the government mandate targets demand 33% in the first year, jumping to 52% shortly after.
That gap between 13% reality and 52% mandated policy is where the market breaks.
Right.
The SMMT is pushing the government to ensure growth happens at a sustainable pace. The implication is severe. If policymakers don't align their targets with actual consumer readiness, they risk breaking the used car market entirely. And the used car market is the financial engine that funds the new car market.
Yeah.
If dealers and lenders refuse to take on the risk of plummeting used EV values, the whole ecosystem stalls.
The SMMT is yelling at the government to slow down, but they don't actually offer a solution for how to organically stimulate that consumer demand up to 52%. Nobody seems to have a magic wand to make regular people actually want these vehicles at the speed the government requires.
Right. And that profound disconnect between high-tech policy ideals and actual messy market reality isn't just happening in government chambers or bank ledgers. It is literally sitting right on the pavement of the local dealership lot.
This is such a fascinating physical disconnect. We have this analysis from Autotalker CEO Andrew Wood on digital dealership forecourts. And it outlines the jarring customer experience of going from a seamless digital process online to a completely analog, paper-based physical lot.
Buyers complete the vast majority of their purchasing journey digitally at this point. They're sitting on their couches, searching inventory, comparing minute technical specs, submitting complex finance applications to the cloud.
It's like ordering from a hyper-futuristic Amazon store online. But when you finally go down to the physical lot to pick up your high-tech EV, the dealership is still using printed, manual paper cards tucked under the windshield wipers to display pricing.
Yeah.
If a manager changes a price in the online system, a guy with a clipboard and a Sharpie literally has to walk out to the car in the rain to cross out the old number.
Wood rightly points out that this is an operational nightmare for the dealer, but more importantly, it breaks the trust of the consumer.
Yeah.
The central insight here is that digital retail transformation is fundamentally incomplete if the physical showroom relies on disconnected manual processes. Connecting those physical forecourt displays to live cloud inventory data is the next necessary evolution for the retail side of the industry.
And they have to get the retail side right. Because despite all this digital convenience, people still refuse to buy a car entirely through a screen. The piece pulls a brilliant stat. 72% of UK car buyers still want to see, test drive, and buy a vehicle at a physical dealership.
A car is the second largest purchase most people will ever make.
Right.
They want to physically touch the machine, smell the interior, feel the suspension.
Yeah.
The implication is that dealerships will only survive modern retail expectations if they can successfully bridge their live cloud data directly to the physical metal sitting on the pavement.
Granted, this analysis was written by a digital display vendor, so of course they argue that cloud-connected outdoor screens are the silver bullet.
Sure.
But they conveniently leave out the sheer capital cost and logistical nightmare of wiring up hundreds of digital signs on a massive outdoor lot exposed to freezing snow, heavy rain, and blazing sun.
Oh, completely.
The tech is great in theory, but the physical world is harsh.
The physical world always fights back. If we step back and connect the dots across all of these developments, three distinct themes emerge from the terrain we have covered.
Let's lay them out.
First, the absolute necessity of the bridge.
Yeah.
The industry realizes that a pure battery electric monopoly requires stepping stones.
Right.
We see this clearly with Hyundai engineering 600-mile gas-powered EREVs to cure consumer range anxiety, and range zero emissions adopting hydrogen fuel cell trucks for commercial fleets that simply cannot sacrifice freight payload for heavy batteries.
Right. The infrastructure simply isn't ready for a pure battery takeover, so the market is building its own detours.
Exactly. The second theme is the intense friction between government policy and market reality.
Big time.
The SMMT warning explicitly demonstrates how aggressive EV sales mandates can crush used car residual values and, inadvertently spike leasing costs. Meanwhile, the broad auto news feed highlights the constant unpredictable chaos of international trade tariffs.
Yeah.
Governments are trying to aggressively steer the ship, but the market currents are incredibly stubborn.
And the third theme is the undeniable stubbornness of the physical world itself.
Yes. Despite the push for a fully digital, electrified utopia, physical reality dictates the terms. The Auto Talker analysis proved that 72% of people still demand to physically interact with the car on a lot before buying. And the newsfeed proves there's still a massive, lucrative consumer base demanding manual transmissions, V8 engines, and raw mechanical driving experiences.
Which leaves the industry caught in some incredible tensions. You have a massive expectation versus reality gap.
Right.
The SMMT piece points to government mandates demanding 52% EV sales, while Hyundai's entire manufacturing strategy proves everyday consumers actually want the comfort of a 600-mile gas generator backing up their battery.
Right, exactly. And you also have a profound digital versus analog tension.
Oh, yeah.
The digital dealership piece advocates for seamless cloud integration on the retail lot, while the auto news feed shows an industry still physically wrestling with raw manufacturing limits, NHTSA safety recalls, and the incredibly complex nuts and bolts of building heavy machinery.
So what does this all mean for the listener? The practical takeaway here is that the auto industry's transition isn't a clean flip of a switch, and it isn't going to happen overnight.
No, not at all.
The ultimate winners in this space will be the brands and dealers who can gracefully manage the messy middle connecting the analog internal combustion past to the digital electric future without leaving the actual consumer stranded on the side of the road.
It requires immense flexibility, deep pockets, and a willingness to adapt to what the market is actually doing rather than what policymakers wish it would do.
You're listening to Auto News Talk. The auto industry is trying to build a bridge to the future while simultaneously driving a fully loaded, heavy-duty truck across it, and the toll to cross just keeps changing. Keep a close eye on the used car lot. Watching how legacy brands and banks handle their used EV residual values will tell us exactly how fast this transition is actually moving. Until next time.